Butterflies fill my spine, I feel myself getting hot again. Nerves rushing through my brain, yeah, they can't hear fire from the trees. You're standing by his side, red drops burning down your face. You're real close now, baby. Holy fuck, I feel it with you. I lose self-control. Now I found that you're not one to hear me now. You got me on my knees begging for your lady. And like a fool to stand around and let you blame me. And I'm riding in the sky to the heavens like an
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got a very special guest, former pro wrestler, Peter Mulloy. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Leo.
No, my pleasure, man. It's funny, Scott Beckham.
Yep.
Beckman.
Yeah.
He's the one that, because he saw it, I posted a to Andre Lyons in the mini.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I know people. I'm like, please do it. Scott's a good dude.
Yeah.
His son's a good little athlete, Brogan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that kid's going to do some special things in sports. I really do believe that.
Yeah,
I really do.
I usually didn't share much, with the people in high school.
Yeah.
Because it was like, kind of one of those things where you kind of kept it quiet sometimes.
Right.
But every once in a while, the people that I was friends with, they found out,
Yep.
and he was one of them. So
That's all. Yeah, Scott's a good dude. All right, Pete, where'd you grow up?
I was born in Brockton.
Okay.
So I grew up, kind of in the rough around the edges
Yeah.
in Brockton, Mass. But then moved to Salem, New Hampshire. Big difference.
Okay, yeah, huge difference.
And grew up in a nice town like that, and
Yeah.
got a good education and all.
Excellent. When did you first see pro wrestling?
Geez, I mean, young age. It was following the Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
the Legion of Doom. I remember young age, my father got me a Halloween outfit, the Legion of Doom type of thing, and Macho Man, and so real young age I was.
Right.
But then it wasn't until I think it was in Salem, New Hampshire there where they often brought some of the guys. There was even some from the Kowalski.
Oh, yeah.
Area, King Kong Bundy,
Yep.
Kane doing his Diesel thing. So I got to see that a few
Nice.
times, and right away, just in love.
Yeah, nice. All right. So were your family and friends into it?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, I think friends, yes.
Yeah.
I had a few that, would get into it. We'd do the backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
And, family, no. My brother, he was a pro BMXer. Okay. So definitely into that kind of the extreme sports.
Right.
And that kind of followed in with me as well of doing kind of the crazy stuff.
Right.
The trampoline stuff and rollerblading, biking, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Who were some of your favorites when you first started watching wrestling?
Big one, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
That was my favorite for sure. I saw him, I think it was Lowell,
Yeah.
for the first time when I was probably 9, 10 years old. And right away, I was just, fascinated by that kind of
Right.
wrestling. Of course, I liked them all. I liked, I think, disappointing now, like the Ultimate Warrior types.
Right.
The guys that looked big.
Yeah.
But once I was actually trying to kind of like, copy the stuff,
Yeah.
it was the Bret Hart and the Shawn
Oh, yeah.
Michaels, the Hardy Boys,
Yep.
things like that.
Cool. All right. When did you go to your first show? You said it was in Salem?
Yeah, I want to say probably for independent.
Yeah.
But the big stuff, it was the WWF. It was Songus Arena.
Nice.
And I remember, I
Yep.
think it was Shawn Michaels versus Goldust for the
Nice.
title that
Yep,
night. They
yep.
had everyone there. They had Triple H. They had Jesse James. They had
I was probably there,
Bart
too.
Gunn. Yeah. They had like a lot of the guys that ended up big, but they were
Right.
like it was kind of like an independent WWF show.
Yeah.
A dark show there.
Awesome. All right. What about your first indie show? Well, that was an indie show, you said.
Yeah, so the indie one, I think it was meeting King Kong Bundy.
Yeah,
I got his signature.
Everybody says Bundy was like, because he did a lot of New England indies.
Yeah.
Everybody says he was the nicest guy.
Oh, yeah,
man.
for sure.
Like,
Yep. Yeah, and then I think they had like the midget wrestling there that night. You know, it was quite the show, and it got a lot of attraction. You know, they filled this high school with it.
That's cool. All right, when did you know wrestling was something that you wanted to do or try?
Yeah, I think it was after that WWF show. I think I started to try to copy some of the stuff at home.
Right.
You know, I collected the action figures.
Yeah.
I played the video games. But then it kind of got a little bit more like, you know, serious when I started doing some of the backyard stuff.
Right.
Nothing, you know, it wasn't barbed wire. It wasn't like the super hardcore, but trampolines, things like that. I think the worst we do is, you know, do a table of plywood type thing. But then it started to get a little serious, you know. I think it got a little too serious when I came home and I told my father I'm going to buy a wrestling ring and I was going to put it in our backyard, you know. And
Nick did that.
Yeah, a few people even I knew did that.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you saw why it was a bad idea. And of course, my parents knew it was a bad idea.
Right.
And I scared them with it. So, you know, I was to the point where I found the ring. I had the price. I saved up money for it.
Right.
And it was my father who found the Kowalski school.
Nice.
You know? So we went. You know, he said, you know, don't do that, please. You know, if you're serious about this and you really think that it's something you want to pursue, I'll take you down there. You know, and so we went, Malden, Massachusetts. It was
up all those stairs.
45 minutes. Yeah, everyone talks about the stairs. So imagine that at 15 years old.
Right.
A little different. It was scary. I can remember that quite well.
Yeah. And how loud the ring must have been.
You could hear it from downstairs. Yeah. They had the martial arts place, I remember, right next to there.
Yeah, Richard Burns.
Yep. And so walking through that was intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, and first thing you walk through that door is Kowalski, right? Sitting there right in the right.
Yeah.
And he had that presence.
Yeah. And one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, too, huh?
Oh, yeah. Sitting on this, small chair, but he just looked like a monster sitting in it. And then, you walk in there and you get right away, Jerry Bowser, Duke Dalton, Mike Hollow, just...
Jerry Bowser, that's the Boston Brawler?
Yeah. And they're yelling at everyone. And it wasn't chaotic. Chaotic was a bit different.
Right.
Kowalski's was intense. And so we went in there and I was like, oh, shit. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
No, and obviously I'm not a big guy now. I wasn't big then.
Yeah.
But I sat down with my father and he kicked off a conversation with Killer Kowalski. Nice. And from what I hear afterwards, they didn't let kids my age join that school. I think there was one other person that was 16, 17 that they had let in for whatever reason, but they didn't let anyone in my age. And so it wasn't, I think, a normal thing. I think a big part of it was my father.
Connected with Walter.
He connected with him, and
That's awesome.
They talked for at least an hour.
Right.
And I stayed the whole way. And by the end of it, my father goes, "What do you think?" And I go, "What do I think?" Of course, as scary as it was, I was just watching these guys.
Yeah.
Some of the names that you just saw in there, the John Walters, Slick Wagner Brown,
Wags,
watching those guys in that ring, Aaron Stevens, they're flying around the ropes, and I'm just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So I signed up, and they let me in, but I signed up, I think, with 5 other guys.
Okay.
That day, and it was common to see a group kind of come in a week, starting a Monday, they would a Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday we were doing. So I remember coming in on that Tuesday with 5 other guys.
Yeah.
And, it was a rough, I remember, first day.
Right.
They set you up doing, squats and some chain wrestling, but they do some pretty intense stuff as well, cardio-wise. They have you run the ropes.
Yep. How bruised did you get?
Terrible. Welts, of course. And I don't know if there was a bumps the first day, but I remember 2 of them quit that day. Out of 5, 2 of them had quit that day. I think by the 3rd day, it was me and one other guy.
No kidding.
And he might have lasted 2 more weeks.
Wow.
And that was a common thing. And I think it cost like $1,500 at that time. And it was some kind of like lifetime thing. Because they knew that people would dish it out and they might not be there long.
Right.
And I saw a bit of that.
Was Bo Douglas there too at the time?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And Bo's still keeping that killer going. Like with his training school, the Belt Time Club.
Yep.
All right. So tell us about your first match.
So first match was probably Shortly after that, I'm trying to think of who it was against. I can't remember the exact name.
Yeah.
But it was that outdoor one by the racetrack.
Oh, okay. Was it who did you wrestle for? What company was it?
I don't even remember. It was something that Kowalski had set me up with.
All right.
Probably
okay.
one of my biggest, he had paid, I don't know why.
Yeah.
They paid me well for this
Was
first
it
show.
the dog track?
Yep.
So was that NECW? Was that the hot dog safari?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was at that one of those. They had a couple of them.
Yeah, it was fun. It definitely wasn't a good match, I think, by any means.
Right.
But yeah.
That's wild. All right. And were you the first graduate of the Chaotic Wrestling School?
Yeah. So it's funny. So like it transitioned there from Kowalski's there.
Right.
The end of it was kind of weird. It got a little, I stayed out of the drama of things.
Right.
I was too young to probably understand some of the things going on. But like I said, they weren't like they didn't have many other young people like my age. In fact, I think shortly after I had started there, they had another 16-year-old come in.
Yeah.
And he came in with his mom, and I remember they had sat down kind of like my father and I did, but Mike Hollow, he came in the ring and he grabbed me and he goes, Mulloy, we're gonna do a little spot here.
Right.
And he did something and he flipped me around and he kind of like was putting stuff on pretty aggressive and I'm selling it well like I would. And then he got real pissed off and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. He goes out and he grabs a chair next to the mom and he throws it in the ring and he goes, just hit the ropes. I'm going to kick you. And he throws me into the ropes, kicks me, slams a chair in my back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. and then he goes, put your hand in your head.
Right.
And he didn't hit me that hard.
Yeah.
But it was enough I remember as he hit me in the back, I saw the mom in the corner of my eye with her hands across her face, And as he did that lightly, and then he kind of did the chair over the head to the side, not hitting me. And you watch this mom grab the kid and they ran out and everyone went silent. And you heard the footsteps.
Yeah.
As fast as could be. Heard it swing open. And then maybe after a couple seconds, everyone went nuts. And everyone's like, and
ran him off.
And it was kind of like I felt like I was part of them.
Yeah.
For the first time, I was part of that family.
Yep.
So that was really cool. So when they brought me over to Chaotic, they did that kind of promotion. They wanted to start getting people, I think I paved that road a little bit and proved to the other guys that, some of the younger guys can hack it,
right.
If you give them a chance.
Yeah.
And so they put me on their website right away as the first graduate.
Nice.
And I think some of the first matches, they had me wear the shirt to like, show that before I came on and all that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
You had Sparkles, right?
Yeah.
Sparkles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did that get hooked up?
She kind of, I think, came into Chaotic early on.
Yeah.
And she trained hard. She really kicked butt, and so it was just kind of an early on thing that they had me do manage me for some of my early on matches.
That's awesome.
When I was doing the babyface stuff,
Yeah. And you guys were good together.
Yeah.
You really were. All right, let's get into some fan questions. Anthony Mark Balkas, what was your favorite match in Chaotic?
I'd say Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
That was shortly after, I think, and it's funny, there was one of the Battle Royals I did there, they had me win it. And the winner of the Battle Royal got a title match. And at the time, Luis Ortiz was the champion. And that was cool because full circle, King Kong Bundy was at that Royal Rumble.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And so it was really cool for me to be able to hang out with, someone who I had that signature at home for out back. But did that, and Luis was great. I mean, what a great wrestler.
Oh, he's incredible.
And he he would come to the training center, here, but the guy was just built and meant for wrestling. And he, put all these spots together, but also, left enough open for us to just have a really fun match.
Nice.
And also trusted me to to catch him doing some of his stuff. He did some big spots and also talked to me and he's like, would you be willing to try this? And I was into, doing some of the high flying stuff. And so Mike Hollow didn't always love doing some of the high spots.
Yeah, he's more of a mat-based guy, right?
Yeah, but I mean, of course, he was my mentor.
Right,
and so I did what Mike said.
Yeah.
But Luis is like, you're going to do this tonight.
Right.
And so I still remember that as the most fun I've had in a ring.
Nice. And he is a hell of a talent.
Oh, yeah.
Luis. Unreal.
Yep.
All right, Here's Anthony Mark Palka says another question. And I want to know this too. Why did you stop wrestling?
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, I definitely miss it. I have dreams about it all the time, man.
Right.
And it was something that was a big part of my life, obviously, as a kid, into my young adulthood.
Was it hard to quit?
It was, and it was a lot of things. It was. I lost a bit of love for it, and I think you might hear a lot of people say that.
Right.
It was during that time where wrestling was changing a lot. So I might use that as a small excuse, but I think more personal. It was I lost some love.
Yeah.
And I was at a time in my life, where I was growing up, and so I was trying to find who I was.
Yeah.
I was, starting to date girls, and that was taking time for me. Trying to go to college. Yeah. And so my time wasn't into it, and I always remember seeing some of the other guys that if they were coming in once a week, it wasn't working.
Right.
And I was turning into the once a week guy.
Right.
And that wasn't fair for Brian Malonis, who I was wrestling with as a tag partner.
Awesome.
He was
gonna
there 4
be
times a week.
on November 4th.
Yep. So I kind of just finally made that decision, and I kind of I walked away with the thought of maybe just take a break. Yeah. And that break took a while.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So you wrestled. When was your first match? What was it? 2000?
I'd say around there. Yeah.
So you wrestled about 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
Wow. All right. Julian Starr.
Yeah.
Why is he not wrestling now that he looks yoked? I'm almost, what's yoked to me?
Yeah, working out.
All right.
Get in shape. I wasn't in shape when I wrestled. I was I was athletic. I was always able to do anything anyone could do. I felt that. I felt that way. I was able to keep up with the other guys. My cardio was good. But I wore the Hardy Boy shirts because I had a baby belly.
Right.
And as much as Mike Hollow tried to get me to do the push-ups every day, I just, I think I was just a little too young and not, I think, disciplined enough to bring that part with me. And I wish I did, because now I love working out. It's a big part of my life now.
Right. Yeah, Julian's awesome. Thanks for the question, Julian. Mav wants to know, why did you discover working out after wrestling?
Yeah. And it's funny because Maverick, what a great guy.
One of my best friends. Seriously.
I can remember very firmly the first day meeting him. He was at, Chaotic Wrestling. He showed up just at training one day.
Right.
And he was there probably an hour before the training started that day. You could tell because he was sweating. And he was in the ring, he was doing his stuff. And
he was in shape
I was very intimidated by him. I thought I thought he was going to be a jerk because he was grunting before we got in there. But then you met him, and he just had so much to offer for discipline and
he liked help with the young guys.
He wanted to share it. And with that he was one of the guys that tried to help me with getting in shape. And I wish I listened to him because, again, it's a big part of my life now.
Nice. Matt was jacked, man.
He was.
All right. Michael Mulloy, where and when? Is that? I think that must have been for doing the show, right?
Probably, yeah. It's my dad.
That's dad. I put dad. Must be dad.
Yeah, I have a lot to thank for him. He took me to Kowalski's 4 times. I didn't have a license. I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So to think about that, Salem, New Hampshire to Danvers, 4 days a week.
About an hour, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
But he knew I loved it. He didn't want a wrestling ring in his backyard.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was incredible to have someone like that. My father's always been somewhat of a best friend to me. And at every show that we had.
That's awesome.
He was part of the gimmick sometimes early on, because before they let me do the matches, they had me doing the spots of being part of the crowd.
Yeah.
They would have Big Mike Stud grab me,
pull you over,
and give me the last ride.
Right.
And my dad would be there going, what the, and so on. So
that's wild. Mike Stud, I haven't thought of him in a long time. He was a big dude. All right, Dennis Patrick Conway. What match would you recommend for someone who has never watched any of your matches before?
Yeah.
Dennis is an up-and-coming kid.
Okay, that's a tough one, because I try to find some of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I know some of the earlier stuff was on TV.
Right.
But I don't know where to find it.
On Channel 50.
Right,
WNDS.
So
that's right.
it would be like the Luis Ortiz. It would be some of that. I know I see like the me versus Cue Ball and Ali Muhammad.
Yeah.
But that was some of my early stuff.
The Cue Ball with hair.
Yeah.
I have a map made fun
he
of.
was another person too that took me under the wing.
Good. He was a good worker.
Yep. but he wasn't afraid to like, you know,
Right.
treat me like one of the adults,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
great, you know.
That's what you needed too. You
Yep.
needed to be treated like a man.
Yeah, and then
back then.
I'd also say like the matches with Minnie.
Yeah,
You know,
yep.
that was kind of the start of it too. After I kind of had those first matches. We did that best of 5.
Right.
And that best of 5, we had really good matches.
Yeah,
you know,
you
he was great in the ring. We worked awesome together.
Yeah.
And again, I think we paved that way a little bit for some of the other
I
younger
think
guys.
so. And Andre too was a hell of a
for
talent
sure.
too,
Yep,
man.
another one.
And it was so sad that I think he ripped his leg up in the Super 8, right? His knee.
I didn't know about that until a little
Yeah.
later on, and I think seeing one of your podcasts.
That was his last. That was like his last match. Was I think the Super 8.
Yeah.
And what a talented kid he was,
Oh yeah,
man.
incredible. I remember he came in, very similar story to mine.
Yeah.
But he would always kind of, he would kind of, thank me for, I think giving him the courage to walk in one day to the
Nice.
training
Oh, 'cause you
center.
were there
And-
first.
yep.
Yeah,
and
right.
Then he took it from there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. He was very talented
Yep.
too. And Minnie was so skinny, but what a mouth he had. He was
yeah.
He was one of the most entertaining guys I've ever seen, honestly. And another kid that reminds me of that is, I don't know if you remember like Ring of Honor in the early 2000s.
yeah.
Deranged was part of Special K. He used to come out and had, big, and he's got arms like this. It was just great stuff,
Yep.
Great stuff. All right. Marvin Neal, Peter Mulloy, my dude. That's all he said.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all he's obviously a buddy of yours.
Yeah, I definitely have, a lot of support.
Yeah, that's awesome. Glenn Jr., how does it feel to be such a badass?
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's funny. Like,
Should've said I am.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with wrestling, you needed to have a bit of a backbone.
Right.
I remember there was times where I had to hide my pain or hide, whatever it was, or feeling, the uncomforts of being a kid in a man's locker room at times, and things like that. So there was times you did feel like a badass for sure.
Right. Were you in the locker rooms with Edward G. Ecstasy and Ronnie Delicious? I mean, like you said, grown men.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking jacked dudes. And then you're teaming with Malonis,
Exactly.
who's a young kid, but twice your size.
Oh yeah. Yep. He was incredible for the way
yeah.
he can move.
Yeah?
And
He
his
still
cardio.
can work like crazy,
I remember
man.
when he started, he was smoking too, and
right.
he worked so hard to get his cardio where it was.
Yep.
A lot of
One of my favorite wrestlers. And I loved it when he got signed to Ring of Honor. That was just, I just loved that.
Yeah, very proud of him.
All right, Susan Ledger Ferraro. Great human, that Peter Mulloy. All right, Scott Beckman. Thanks, Scott, for this too. My guy, Pistol Pete. Got some great memories of going to see Pete wrestle when we were in high school. My dad and I went to a bunch of shows in Lawrence, and I always thought it was so cool that a kid my age who I knew was in the ring. What was it like being a 16-year-old in a locker room full of grown men? I know you just said it, but
yeah, but no, it's more, like it's different, and it, I think it got more comfortable after a while, but everyone was different too, though. So like there was times where it was, I think, not uncomfortable for being just the young guy in there, but just because of some of the antics of what goes, on behind scenes. There wasn't too much of that, thankfully. I think I was lucky enough to be around people that I think, just really cared about wrestling.
Yep.
The chaotic stuff, they wouldn't really allow, too much of that stuff to go on. But it was still different, it's, the baby oil, the flexing, the putting on the character out back.
Yeah.
It's a definite experience.
Awesome. All right. Was there anyone who took you under their wing?
There was a few, for sure.
Yeah.
Slick Wagner Brown.
Yeah.
At Kowalski.
Love Wagner.
I mean, him and like John Walters right away, they were by far the best in that school, and right away, they treated me great, and I was lucky for that because I don't think they don't always, they're not going to always kind of take any. I noticed that.
Right.
Other people that signed up, they would kind of either just, keep them at arm's distance, but you could tell they cared because I showed, I think, my care
Right.
for being
And
there.
both those guys were dedicated to wrestling, man. Back then, I mean, 100%.
Yep.
I mean, Wagner's still keeping it going. He's got a
Yeah.
training thing in Connecticut.
Yep.
You know? And John Walters, he bounces in and out of wrestling here and there, you know? John's a great guy.
And then, of course, I'd say Mike Hollow.
Yeah.
Mike Hollow is my mentor. He was
Right.
what an incredible trainer he is. I know he's still doing it.
Yeah. Me and Brandon were just talking about my call.
Yep.
You know? So that's amazing. All right. So I know, like, some of your rivals, when you teamed with Brian as the Lost Souls,
Oh, yeah.
you took on Pretty Psycho.
Yeah.
Which was Handsome Johnny and Psycho Ivar to you guys, if you guys want to know who that is, and the Logans. Can I ask some? Who's Bill Logan?
I'm not sure. I mean, Brian, Matt,
And Nick.
And Nick, yeah.
But somebody, I saw you had a match against the Bill Logan.
It might have been another federation there.
Oh,
or something.
okay.
Or, yeah. Yep.
All right.
The rings a bell, but yeah, I mean, I wrestled with Handsome Johnny, Todd. I wrestled him many times, so even before the tag stuff, I mean,
Right.
he was just always so dedicated.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, I loved his characters back then, and now
Yeah.
he's just got, such a different one, but it's working so well for him. I'm so proud of him as well. And
I haven't said this in a while, but a lesser man would have quit. All those injuries that he had,
Yep.
so many people would have gave up,
Yep.
not him. And it's so awesome to see where he is today.
Yeah.
Because of that determination, man. Seriously, it's amazing.
For sure.
You must be proud of him.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's incredible to watch him, how far he's made it, and
Definitely. Another team you guys took on was Brian Black and the Mighty Minnie.
Yeah.
I like that tag team because of the dynamic and the size.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Minnie was, the size of his 2 legs.
Yeah.
And Brian Black, big kid.
yeah. So it's funny, there was a difference of that team and our team, right? So like Brian, Malonis was different than Brian from the other side.
Yeah, Brian Black, yep.
They had a completely different dynamic to them.
Absolutely.
But then also Minnie and myself.
Yep.
I did a little more of the high flying. He did some of the more, I think, trickster. But then I did the cheat. I was the heel at that time.
Right.
So I did my little, cheating skits that I had done, and
Yeah.
and it worked really well. Like I said, I've always worked well with Minnie there.
Right.
But then that tag match was just a whole nother level.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's awesome. All right, so Scott Beckman came back with a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Anyone that would try and mess with you because of your age?
I don't know about, anything severe. I think that everyone would then mess with you.
Right.
So again, at an early time, they would test you.
Yeah.
And I would get that, I think, from people that didn't know me.
Yeah.
So if I went to an outside federation that wasn't
Right.
chaotic or something like that, I often found that there was guys that were standoffish to me
Okay.
a little bit, and I could tell that at first. And I just would always have the kind of I think the mindset to just show them that what I can do in
Right.
the ring and just prove myself right
Yep.
away. And usually you found that they would treat you like anyone else.
Right.
I definitely had a few that would pull pranks and things
Yeah.
like that. But that was normal stuff.
Yeah.
So I could handle any of that stuff, and I could
Right.
handle more than that too. And I was I wasn't a punk kid, so that helped.
Right, right.
And anyone that I
Yeah,
think,
you showed respect.
Yeah, anyone that kind of was doing anything bad to people, they didn't last.
No, they definitely did.
And you could tell.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
knew who they were.
Yeah.
They would warn you about it, so I'd stay away from them.
Right. Did anybody like that mess with? Did anybody come over to you and be like, hey, don't listen to that?
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
Good.
Maverick and
I was gonna say I would be surprised if it was bad for sure. All right. Who was your biggest influence in the ring? Hollow?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, as a personal one, it would be him. And I'll go back to the Slick Wagner and John Walters earlier on, just because they were working with me every day.
Right.
But Mike Hollow for sure.
Nice. Okay. Who did you have the most chemistry with in the ring, and what do you think was your best match?
It might be one of those mini ones.
Yeah.
I think that we had a really good. I'd say chemistry. It's him.
Oh, definitely.
And then again, I think the best one would go back to the Luis Ortiz one.
Yeah.
But I know that's a tough one because I feel like I had good ones with
Right.
the rest of the guys I've mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So
All right. What made you step away from pro wrestling?
yes,
You kind of already said it a little.
Sort of, yeah. So like that kind of led me away from it. And then, I had kind of, take my own journey there from there on, because I'd always thought of coming back.
Right.
I came back and did a couple little things.
Yeah.
And each time I came back, it was with a mindset of I'm going to do a comeback.
Right.
And it didn't go the way I thought.
Yeah.
I think the locker rooms didn't feel right to me again. And it might have been a weird time.
Right.
I think I went, back to chaotic when they were kind of transitioning.
Right.
So that might have been a little part of it.
Right.
But I don't know. It didn't feel. I didn't have that love anymore that I had originally. And so then I kind of took my own path. I went into the Marine Corps after
Okay.
wrestling. So I did 4
wow.
years in the Marine Corps.
Nice.
I knew that I was, meant for something better in this life.
Yep.
And so I wanted to do
awesome.
something important, and so I did that. I went to college.
Yeah.
Didn't do the greatest in college, but got an associate's degree in engineering.
Yeah.
Tried my tried at business and things like that, and then got into music.
Right. Nice. Now, when you started at Chaotic, was Randy Miller the owner or was Jamie the owner?
Jamie was.
Jamie was. Okay. All right. What is your best memory from pro wrestling?
I'd have to say, actually, so every once in a while they'd have, of course, we'd have some of the guys from WWF come to our our training center to either work on their match that they had in one of the local shows,
Right.
Or they would come in and invite us to go, and they'd pay us to go be part of maybe some spot. That they had
Okay.
there.
Yeah, got you.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was really lucky enough one time to go to a Monday Night Raw.
Nice.
So they paid me a ridiculous amount.
Like $200, $250, something
It was more
like
than that.
that.
It was $500, I think.
Wow. pretty good.
To sit front row.
Yeah.
But also you go, I think we went at like noon. So we went at noon, sat out back, had catering
Catering, yeah.
the whole time, and I got to meet all my childhood, favorite wrestlers.
Right.
I got to sit at a table with Shawn Michaels, Triple H.
That's wild, huh?
I got to sit down with the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys, and they were watching their match, and they were asking our opinion on things like that.
That's cool.
Meet Jerry the King Lawler.
That's my favorite.
And so our spot was Goldberg was doing a spear, one of the Samoans, and he was going to spear him and through the barricade, and he had a dislodged barricade, and so they paid us to sit there and make sure that no one else got hurt,
Right.
and make sure we got hit.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a kid that we had to grab and throw at the last second,
Yeah.
right before
'Cause
he hit. But meeting someone like Goldberg before it, he's telling us what he's going to do, and he was a lot nicer than I thought.
That's cool.
He was asking us what shirt he should wear, things like that, and so
That's wild.
just I think just the experience, and getting to meet some of those guys that I never thought
Right.
I'd not just meet, but actually have conversations with and
Yeah.
sit down and talk to. And they were, they knew who we were from.
Right.
They knew Chaotic Wrestling, and so you're the Chaotic kids, right? And
That's wild.
so yeah.
Were you in law when Sean lost his smile? I was at that show.
I don't think I was.
Yeah.
What was that? That was
what, 97,
Yeah, so-
98,
so,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, so you were young then.
Yep.
huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. So Scott's last one is, what is life like for Pete these days?
Yeah, it's good. Like I said, I transitioned into the music stuff. So I released an album 2 years ago, my own
nice.
album, all original music, 16 songs of my own.
Cool.
Before that, I was doing a lot of gigs at small restaurants and
Yeah.
things like that. That's been kind of my
Just you and the
entertainment now.
guitar?
Yep, just me and the guitar. Yep.
Nice.
The album has a full ensemble because me,
Yeah.
producer, actually did all the instruments for it too.
cool.
So I do play a few of the instruments as well for that.
Nice.
And then now I'm just a family man. I had my first child earlier this year.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yep,
That's awesome.
Got engaged last year,
Nice.
and so a lot of excitement. A lot of good things. A lot of things that are keeping me humble and happy. And
That's awesome. All right, listen. I saw you. Did you wrestle for the MWF for Dan Maratti?
I did, yes.
The late Dan Maratti.
Yep.
How was that? 'Cause
It was good.
He actually brought in guys from like the tri-state area too for his
Yeah,
shows.
I don't know if I remember specific matches.
Right.
I think one of them was with Handsome Johnny.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was the Logans who were at one of those shows.
Right.
But
Yeah, they wrestle for him a lot too.
Yep.
So, and Handsome Johnny was a regular for Dan for years,
yeah,
man.
Yep.
All right. So we'll play the name game.
Cool.
I don't know if you remember this guy, but Mike Cruel.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I never got to wrestle or,
No.
or anything like that. So it's probably like a backstage type of thing. You know?
So he had come down with guys like the Valedictorians, right?
Yep.
Billy Bax and Rob Eccles, who's now part of NXT.
Okay.
Robbie E, I think it is.
Gotcha.
I think that's what he goes by. All right. So how about Psycho?
Psycho, yeah. I remember when he first started Chaotic, and he's very quiet, and he kind of kept his own at that time. But then we brought out his character. I think over
Right.
time he stuck to it. He was there at every practice, 4 days a week, worked his butt off, and then. Lightning in a bottle was him and Johnny.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was just so fun to watch those matches.
Yeah.
And I think every time, I remember every time they came back to the back, everyone applauded them.
Dude, he really killed that role as Psycho. He really, I mean, like you said, he was quiet, never really talked. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it very much. How about Fred Sampson?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of reminds me of some of the first matches there. I think I remember meeting him my first, I think, thing with Chaotic was doing the Pizza Boy thing. I don't know if you remember that one.
No, I don't.
But
maybe.
it was. I think Fred Sampson was part of that. And they had me. Deuce Dalton was coming out with Brittany. And doing his act, and I think someone ordered a pizza for Dukes, and so it pissed him off. And he beat me up.
Yeah. As you delivered the pizza. All right. We already talked about so many. Ken Phoenix. Ken Phoenix,
yeah. I had a match with Ken in Tewksbury, I believe.
Incredible talent.
Oh
too,
my.
Huh?
Yeah, and he in good shape.
Yeah.
And he was young too.
Yeah, he was young.
And so that was great work with him.
Nice.
And what a nice guy.
Yeah.
Soft spoken and
Absolutely. How about Adam Booker?
Adam Booker. He's one that I don't know about taking under the wind because he was always up in Maine, so like whatever.
Right.
But like anytime we would, I think, work at a show with him, he would always come talk to us and talk about our match and give us critique. He wasn't afraid to tell you what you did wrong.
Right.
Tell you what you did right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always
awesome.
And I really enjoyed watching his tag matches back then.
Yeah, I know. Adam's a great worker. How about Dr. Heresy?
Yeah.
Another guy that's
another
awesome.
great guy. Yeah. I think I met him at one of the first Chaotic, doing the doctor act there with that. And
oh yeah,
I don't think I knew what to expect with him.
Right.
Because you see his act.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to be kind of a jerk. And he's not. He's such a nice guy. And same thing. He would come and he would tell me what he thought about my match.
That's awesome.
And, have a really good conversation. And then I loved watching him with Andre.
Oh man, incredible.
And that was very entertaining for me to watch those tag matches.
No doubt. All right, Antonio Thomas.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if I worked with him or anything like that, but
incredible talent.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I know you know this guy, Mike Crockett.
Mike Crockett. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the referees, they would always be traveling with us, and they come out to dinner every night, and they're at training too. They're taking the bumps, just like we were. And so he was just, I'm trying to remember some of the other names of the refs there and stuff like that. But
Todd Sinclair.
Todd Sinclair and them, they were just so much fun to hang out with.
Yeah. Rich Bass, I think, was a ref.
Yep. And just a lot of fun to hang out with, and just another one of the boys. They were just like the wrestlers. With us.
Crockett was my episode 300 guest.
That's awesome.
He was like, "Oh, I'm not bad." I'm like, "Dude, you kidding me? You've been around for so long. You'd be a great guest." And
and I see he does he was doing podcasts, right?
Yeah. He had a great podcast.
Great.
Him and Malonis.
Yep.
They did the podcast, and Fury was part of it too a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was good stuff. They had Sonny Goodspeed on quite a bit. I was even actually a guest on that show. Frankie Amadillo?
Yeah. So now was he tagged with someone else?
He was tagging, but he was coming down from like the Fall River area.
Yep. And that's what I was thinking of. The Fall River was the racetrack there.
Yes.
I don't. I'm trying to remember. I think I had a match with him as well.
Frankie he was a hell of a talent.
Yep.
He really was. How about Eddie Edwards?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I remember that name.
No? Okay.
Eddie Edwards. It rings a bell for sure.
Okay.
but-
How about DC Dillinger?
DC Dillinger.
That was his tag team partner. They used to call him Shitty.
Okay,
Eddie
yeah.
Edwards.
And DC Dillinger, was it Scarecrow?
No.
No.
DC Dillinger, he passed. He was managed by Sean Gorman.
Okay, yes.
Sabotage
Yep.
the tag team.
Yep.
Yeah. He was such a great heel. He could just stand there and freaking people wanted to kill him. He didn't even say anything.
Okay.
And people wanted to kill him. You know? He
Yeah.
was a great heel. In my opinion, one of the greatest heels of all time in New England.
Wow.
Because like I said, he could just stand there and just get so much heat.
Yeah. It's been a while for me, so I'm sure if I saw him, I'd be like,
Oh, yeah.
That's
No, well,
DC
he wouldn't
Dillinger.
say DC had passed. He passed about
know
8
that.
years ago, yeah. Like I said, great guy. How about, do you know George Carroll?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you remember Kevin Matthews used to come down for Chaotic?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
From New Jersey. He's friends with John Walters.
Yep,
That's
yep.
a big dude.
Big, yeah.
Big
yeah.
kid. Did you have any matches with Kevin?
No.
Okay. How about Paul Hudson? Remember Paul?
No, I don't think so.
No, he's from Maine. I think you had one match with him, I think.
I might, yeah.
How about Tony Omega?
Tony Omega, yeah.
You know Tony?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, I think around the time of like Psycho, when he was starting, I think, actually, Tony might have even started at Kowalski's, I think.
Oh, I think he did.
I'm
No,
pretty sure
I
he did.
do.
It
I
was around-
do
it was-
think he did.
Oh, yeah, he was rooming with Chad Wicks, Billy Kryptonite.
Billy Kryptonite. We actually brought him up the last episode too because he actually fought his tag team partner in the WWE. I don't know if
Okay.
you ever heard about
No,
that.
no.
Yeah, his tag team partner because he was complaining about being stiffed all the time. So his tag team partner punched him in the face,
no.
and that was the end of that team.
Yep.
But yeah, so but he was talented, Billy Kryptonite.
He was one that tried to get me into to lifting a bit.
Right.
You know, he was. I think I went to the gym and I couldn't walk for the next 5 days because he was always real hard in the gym and
Right.
But he had a great character, a great mindset. So I remember, he was.
Did
doing
you
really well.
work for NEWA at all?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
did. Okay, because
Yeah.
that was George Carroll.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
I know him.
Yeah.
I just
So that's where I met Brian Buffet.
Okay. Yep.
You know, but so I could have swore I saw you wrestle there in either Braintree or Quincy.
It was Quincy.
Yeah. Kofi was
maybe
on the
both,
show too.
but, yeah.
You know, Kofi. Did you work with Kofi? Well, not like
Just a little bit. You know, he was
here and
young.
gone 2 years.
So
right?
I think,
Boom.
So I mean, I think I saw him when he was probably just starting, and wouldn't have imagined, and not that he probably was, already showing his athleticism and everything like that. But you
he's
don't know
incredible.
it sometimes. You get guys that come in there that you say he's got it,
Right.
and you just never know.
Right. And people disappear in the independent scenes. Like here today, gone tomorrow.
It's incredible. Yeah.
You know, like I said, all of a sudden you were gone.
Yep.
And like for a fan like me, way to go.
Yeah.
There's other guys that have just recently left when the pandemic hit. This guy named D.L. Hurst worked for Chaotic. Incredible talent. Gone, never came back.
Yep.
You know, it's crazy. How about referee Rich Lannon?
Yeah.
That's the mother of my older kids, our first cousin.
Oh, wow.
Rich, a great guy.
Oh yeah.
He started at Kowalski.
He refereed my first match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for sure. And then a bunch of others, after that. But I just firmly remember because I think he was helping out just kind of like the nerves of your first. He knew it was my first match.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think
He's a great guy.
Yep.
He really is.
Oh, yeah.
How about the voice of New England, Mr. Rich
Oh,
Palladino?
geez. Yeah. I mean, you just brought back all kinds of memories of what is it, Somerville there?
The Good Times Emporium.
man.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. It's just he had the presence
Right.
going there. And I remember, I think I was going to the shows while I was at Kowalski's, but I hadn't had a match yet.
Right.
So I'm just watching all those and then I think Chaotic, he was the guy. He asked me, I think how he wanted to say my name and what my music was and things like that. So we recognized that and. Just another great personality, just good person to be around, kind of set the pace of the area before you're putting the ring together and to have a guy like that, kind of.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. He's actually got flown to ring announce for Major League Wrestling like a couple weeks ago, which is incredible for him, Yep. I love Rich, great guy, best ring announcer out there, in my opinion at least. How about, do you remember Ali Muhammad?
Yeah.
Late Anthony Rufo.
You'll see that if you YouTube my match with him.
Yeah, I did see him in his shoes,
Yeah,
his curly.
and that was more of just a botch match of just, it was meant to be that. It was supposed to be put him over as a good heel.
Oh, yeah.
Beat me up, stand on my nuts.
Yeah.
And he just, and as brutal as it might, he was a nice guy.
Oh, he was a wicked nice guy.
And he's just like, wait, wear a cup. He goes, I'm gonna be, I know where to step.
Yeah.
He stepped in a certain spot right here that didn't.
So you didn't even feel it, huh?
No, it was,
Wow.
it was. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. What about his tag team partner, Gino Martino?
Yeah, another one. Geez.
Yeah.
And he.
Larger than life.
Yeah, and even him, he would reach out to me from time to time.
Yeah,
just
he's
to
a
be like,
great
Pete,
guy.
how you doing?
Yeah, he hits me up here and there. Like sometimes if he sees I'm having a guest on and he doesn't want to be brought up, he'll mention it. No problems.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, but he was just to me at that time he was larger than than life, some of these guys.
Yeah.
So to have that him remember you was cool.
Yeah. My son, that was my son's favorite wrestler, and I talked to him maybe a month ago, and he's like, "Hey, how's your son Mike doing?"
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like people remember that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. How about Timmy Kilgore?
Timmy Kilgore. It rings a bell. I don't think I worked with him or anything like that.
All right. How about Arch Kincaid?
Arch Kincaid, yeah. And, if I were to add another to the list of taking me under the wing, it was, granted, he was always working on stuff at that time. Like he was, I think, I remember at Kowalski's, he was one that he struggled at some things.
Right.
And it wasn't his promos were great.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You could listen.
Yeah.
He had this character already that was so unique and different. But I remember, he was stiff. He was very stiff to start, and not that no one got upset with him. You just knew that he was just working on it.
Right.
And every training he was there, but such a nice guy. And, I got to work with him probably plenty of times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Malonis and him didn't get along too good.
No.
All right. How about Fat Pants, Todd Sinclair?
Yeah. I mean, he would. Any kind of road shows that we would do, he would drive us. I remember he was taking Minnie, Andre, and myself on some of those shows. And just, he just had that, he had that love for wrestling that you can't,
unbelievable.
You can't make up, and he was a Wikipedia for different wrestlers and other sports.
He's a historian.
Yeah.
And you're right, though. He knows a lot about just sports in general.
Yep.
He ended up in Ring of Honor.
I saw that.
As the lead, as the head rep,
and I
senior rep.
I wasn't surprised.
Right.
He just
And the booker, I think. He was the booker, too.
Yep.
Incredible mind for the business.
Exactly.
All right, how about Vince Vicalo?
Yeah, geez. What a fun, again, like the fun times.
Yeah.
Him and John Walters were just so much fun to watch. And I remember there was times that, even him, I think, training wise at first, he was, I think without John really had him step up all the time and things like that. And then once they became the tag partners, I mean,
they were a great tag team, man. They really were.
Yeah. And then he kind of, I think, disappeared.
Yeah, he did.
While I was there, so I kind of stayed out of the drama of things, so I didn't understand, why that was. But I think I talked to him a few times after that. And,
nice, he's a good guy. How about Larry Huntley? No Larry?
I don't think so.
Okay. How about Mike Osborne?
Mike, that rings a bell. Can't put a picture.
All right, not a problem. No problem. We can go with more. How about Nick Logan?
Nick Logan, yeah. I mean, all Logans, I just, all three of them, they were just, I forget which, it might have been one of those shows in Quincy there that I think I first met them. And I think they came across a little bit as the backyard wrestler thing, but they hadn't made that transition yet. And it didn't matter because you still saw them, they went out and they put on a match and you were like, damn.
Yeah.
These kids really got it, and they like the athleticism. They already had a body at a young age.
Yep.
So I already knew that they were gonna do something big. And then they came over to the Chaotic Wrestling.
Yeah.
I think it was after a couple shows, someone invited them. They came down. I know it was kind of a drive for them to do that, but they're
from Lowell, my hometown.
They made that, risk of doing, the big step up to the school, and then took off, and then some of the shows in Lowell.
Right.
I remember just, the pop that they would get.
Oh, unreal, unreal. They're one of the greatest tag teams ever come out of New England, for sure.
I mean,
And back then in the Quincy, it was Brian and Nick, and Matt was the one-man army.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the Super 8 and the EC? That Nick's the only one that won it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kind of shocked me though, because I always thought of Brian and Matt being a little better as a pro wrestler than Nick, but maybe I didn't see it as well as I should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they all had their own thing though.
Right.
It's like three very different characters and styles, personalities.
Yeah. Nick's an amazing guy. Anyways, he's the head coach at Lowell High School Wrestling, coaching with the legendary George Bossy.
That's incredible.
It's unbelievable. Him and his wife took in a family that lost their parents, his kids that lost their parents. He took them in, raising them, helping out. Yep. It's just an incredible story.
And is it his son that's a really good wrestler? And,
and he also was part of Doughboy Wrestling, which is kind of like the Boys and Girls Club type of thing.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome, man.
It is awesome.
All right, how about Andre Lyons? I know you talked a little about him.
But I mean, just personally, I think all those guys, I mean, even Chase, at that time, it was all of us that were kind of hanging out and we had a lot of time to hang out behind wrestling as well, and getting to know each other, whether it was just as simple as doing some workouts, going out to eat after the shows, doing a little partying here and there, just kind of being boys. Yeah. And so those guys became somewhat of a family at one point.
Right. Now you were part of was that when the WFA was going too, and it just kind of like Bradley wanted to put them out of business. Jamie wanted to put Bradley out of business.
Yeah, there was definitely
crazy.
Again, I stayed out of a lot of this stuff, and I'm not a drama person.
Right.
And so I really kind of, but I'm not stupid.
Right.
So
I hear you.
So and I hear the whispers, and I knew when things were uncomfortable.
Right.
And so whenever that kind of happened, I kind of, either did my own thing or whatever. Right. But you couldn't deny that there was some. Things at times like that. And like I said, I even felt the same way when I went back, and I think it was right before the selling of Chaotic. And it didn't feel right at the time. Again, maybe it was me again, because I was,
stepped
away. So it was different for me already.
Right. Yeah.
But I could tell a difference of it.
Right. How about Jamie Jamakowski?
Yeah, I mean, he was
a great owner. He really was. He was dedicated to the Chaotic product.
And he gave me such a good opportunity.
Right.
I think he had kind of came up with some of the character ideas of it. I think it was like the Pistol Pete was the first thing. And then it was just like, we're going to just use your first and last name. We're going to just use Pete Mulloy. Yeah. You're just going to be a heel, here in this new character after you're all beaten up because Minnie wins the best of 5. So you're going to be that lost soul, and that's how we became the Lost Souls with Matt and Brian Malonis. Yeah, which that thing became great, but he gave me those opportunities, and to win the tag title twice, we won it.
That's wild.
And he was always vouching for me, and him and Mike Hollow, and. It's cool to have someone like that who could trust me and put me in a position like that where you got all these other guys working hard for it too, and some older guys that don't like to see a young guy succeeding at the same time. So
the bitter ones,
for sure,
and there are know what I mean. And this is the first time I just thought of this, that I've had 2 shows in one day with both real names.
Yeah.
With you, it's very rare.
Yeah. It worked. I don't know what it was about. Not that I have I think a mean name, but it just worked somehow.
Right. Did you know Brandon at all? Like when you were?
Yeah.
Great guy, huh?
For sure.
And he does that bodybuilding stuff too, man. It's incrediable.
Yeah, I'm in okay shape. I don't know if I can stick. With
I
him.
hear you.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right, Mike Studd.
Mike Studd. Yeah, he was big guy. I worked with him a lot in Kowalski's,
Right.
just every day at training. Guys like him, Scarecrow, Cue Ball.
Yep.
And I got to do a couple matches with him, and then, like I said, that spot there with,
Right.
which I remember him. He gave me the last ride there in the ring, and I mean, if you could find a tape of that, I remember we had it.
Yeah.
And everyone watched it over and over and over
Right,
again. I remember
right.
that week because he
Looked like you died.
we told each other that before. I would always tell all the guys before it. I
Lay
go,
it in.
say, apologize after.
Right.
Lay it in. Like,
Right.
don't treat me.
Yeah.
I was like the Spike Dudley.
Right.
Just do whatever. I can take it.
Right.
But I do remember him putting me in my head and seeing a few colors.
Yeah.
But that went away real fast.
Yeah.
And it was fine. We went out back, and Mike's like, "Dude, are you okay?" and yeah.
He was a very talented guy. He, again, another guy, though, all of a sudden was just gone.
Yeah, but I kind of saw that with, he brought his son in one day.
Oh, okay.
To the training, and he was playing with his son, and I was like, what a good dad.
Yeah.
And I can see that now, because I'm a new dad,
Right.
so and I try to be the best dad in
Yep.
the world, and you could tell he was just a good dad, and
Right.
and when I stopped seeing him, I knew where he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah,
he's at
just
home with
being
his
a
kid.
dad. Yeah, he's being a dad. That's awesome. That's a great story. I did not know that about Mike. How about Christian Angus? Do you remember Christian?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
He was very underrated, man, in my
sure.
opinion.
Yeah.
Did you have any matches with Christian?
I didn't. Just kind of watching.
Because I
some of
met
his
the
stuff.
first time I saw him, he wrestled around here for Lobster Man. Did you ever work for Lobster
yeah,
Man?
I did, yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
With the Hudson?
There
Or in
someone-
Nashua.
I was going to say it might have been Nashua. Yeah.
St. Stan's on Airport Road, I bet.
Yep.
I used to sell all my merchandise at Jeff's shows. Jeff's a good. So Ripper.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
So any stories about Rip?
No,
now?
really. No, I think that I don't know. I don't think we really kind of
Right.
knew each other like that. That's all.
He's like a Mav, though. I could easily see Ripper, you know what I mean? Like sitting you down and talking to you, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
Like a Mav, you know what I mean? Again, Mav's one of my best friends. One of the best guys I've ever met. Just an incredible guy. How about Handsome Johnny? You brought him up a little bit, but
we worked a bunch.
Right.
I don't know. They would kind of put us, especially because we were both from the Chaotic. If we went to another place, they would
Right.
they would put us together. They would be like, well,
makes sense.
yeah. And he always had really great spots to put together. His mindset.
Incredible mind for the wrestling business.
Yeah. But we also wouldn't put a lot together. He'd also challenge himself, where he'd be like, "We're just gonna put these three things,
Yeah.
and we'll make up the
We'll
rest."
call
of the
everything else as you go.
And he had fun.
Yeah.
He always had fun. I mean, he was bigger. I think a little later on. He was always big though.
Right.
And so for him to move the way he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he still moves good, and he's a big
Oh, yeah,
dude.
it's
he
incredible.
still moves
Yep.
good. How about his girl, Cherry?
Oh yeah. Yeah. She was a manager for
Yeah,
for us.
she was good. She
at
was
one
a
point.
great manager.
So at the beginning of our Lost Souls
yeah.
thing, she was doing that.
Yep, she's amazing. All right, how about our last name? We'll go with Chase Del Monte.
Yeah. I remember him coming in. I don't know if it was just shortly after the start of the Chaotic Trading.
Yep. Now he's the owner.
Yeah, incredible to see him. But I'm not surprised either because
Right.
he came in, he worked really hard.
Yep. Loves
He kind of had that. Yeah, he really did.
He does. He loves it.
Yep. And so, but he was, I think also just he helped kind of like build that kind of, I think, family, like the
Right.
the family behind the scenes
Yeah.
as well. He really he was like the boys guy.
Right.
He was just that kind of like, I think a bachelor type of personality where
Right.
he just made things fun. Took me under the wing. I think as a young adult, and for me trying
Right.
to, get with, I think hanging out with some of the other guys out back and stuff like that. And so that transition was good with Chase. And,
Nice.
I didn't really work with him much.
No?
I feel like we trained together all the
Right.
time, but we didn't. I don't even remember a match, to be honest.
Wow.
So
And he's a talented kid.
Yes,
Very
yeah.
talented. And he was the behind the scenes, because Brian Fury used to always say, I have my silent partner. And sure enough, I had Chase here, and I said, were you the silent partner? He's like, yeah. Pete, thanks, man.
thank you. I really appreciate
It
it.
was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe, that's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.